That is beautiful.
I was looking backwards on my button pushing.
Oh, you're fine. Do I need to be on this side of the screen?
No.
I like being over here. Oh, perfect. Hi. Welcome to episode 107 of Michigan Brews. Appreciate you being here.
Thanks.
No, I sort of came up with the show's idea. You know, I was thinking about the eclipse and what with the perfect blending of the moon and the sun, I figured why not talk about blending beer too?
Blending beer.
Not really, actually. I just pulled that out of my ass like 4 minutes.
That sounds really
started,
good.
But yeah,
it actually really feels like something you would have come up with. So
I appreciate that.
Well, it was pretty last minute. You messaged me yesterday. So
yeah, I appreciate you being here. For those on the podcast later, I think I'll put it in the description, hopefully, but in case I miss it, Tim Wicklund from Keepers of Craft is here with us too. He is, of all the people I know locally, one of the person that blends beer the most, more so than me for sure.
And Jordan is out camping somewhere watching, or was watching the eclipse earlier, so he can't be here with us today.
Nice.
But that's important for us kids. I remember watching the eclipse as a kid too, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah,
it was pretty cool as an adult too. But
I thought he said he was going somewhere, but that's cool.
So what business do we have before we start talking about blending?
You know, we don't really have a lot of information to share. I don't think new business wise. Michigan Beer Cup registration opens in just under 2 weeks. We're going to open on the 21st or on the 20th. One of those 2 days. Actually, I think we're open on the 20th at noon.
I think so. I think we decided 4:20. Yeah.
4:20 noon. Registration will open. Looking forward to that. We'll have 500 entries, $10 an entry, max 5 entries per brewer, 2 bottles per entry. And you have to be in Michigan this year. We are really going to enforce that and crack down on it. So this is a Michigan-based, Michigan-only competition. In the years past, we've let a couple people slip in here and there. But we're going to try to crack down on that this year and keep it Michigan-centric. Yeah. So I just ordered medals. That's kind of
I hear we have some cool news about the medals this year.
They're thick.
It's super ultra thick.
Yeah.
Not that the medals last year weren't, but these are going to be about twice as heavy as last year. Is that right?
I believe maybe even a little bit more.
Okay.
I think last year, I'm looking down like this, like an idiot, because the order form is laying right here. Hold on.
I thought you just had a random medal sitting there.
No, this is the proof sheet that you can't see. So the ribbons this year are green.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
But this actually doesn't have the. Oh, yeah. So last year they were 2 millimeters thick, and this year they will be 5.
Dang. Okay.
So 5 millimeters thick. We are also changing it up and going with shiny colors because shiny's cool. And even though I do like the antique look, last year the bronzes and gold looked pretty much exactly
pretty close. Yeah.
So shiny, thick metals with a nice, pretty green ribbon. Yeah, so I'm super excited about that. Got that thing checked off. Next thing we got to do is start making money. If you know a brewer, if you're listening to this and you know somebody that owns a brewery and you can help coerce them into donating to their homebrew community, please hit us up on Facebook or message us because we are selling category sponsorship for $50 category. And that money is what is used to go towards our first, second, and third place prizes. The majority, like the gift card, the cash portion of our prizes. So those are really important for us to collect, and we've started selling those a couple of weeks ago, but we really need to kick that into high gear.
And as far as brewery sponsorships too, I feel like that's pretty, inexpensive. I know there's a lot of other competitions that want to, try to rake in like, 150, 200, 250 and stuff. So
Yeah.
we're trying to be pretty responsible and I don't know, easy going about it. Yeah.
It's fun when you do talk to a brewery and they're like, "Oh yeah, I would have paid like 4 times that." I'm like, "Then buy 4 categories." But no. So yeah, that's really it for Michigan. And then for Michigan Brews, our next show will be on.
Your audio is cutting out a little bit.
Around. So for people that can't see,
Yeah.
Audio equipment.
There you go. You sound a little bit better now.
And I have to get used to talking into a mic.
You do sound silky smooth when you get your face next to that cylinder there.
Right. So our next show is going to be on April 29th, and we are going to be talking about what?
What did we decide on?
We just said it last night.
I know, and now I can't remember.
Quality production here.
I'll remember in the middle of the show. In the meantime, Tim, what are you drinking on? I saw an ass on your glass.
Yes, I got a drafting table Oktoberfest glass. You could totally buy these from Sam. And my wife's got one with a Deerdle, but it's a Mexican lager. So
Nice.
Yeah, it's the only homebrew I have on tap upstairs right now. So
Jason's still digging around. I got a international dark lager.
Oh, nice.
So
when'd you brew that?
Drinking pretty good. A couple weeks ago, like 3 weeks ago, I think. So that'll be going out to a couple competitions. Kegging a saison soon, and then I have a smoked doppelbock in the fermenter right now too.
So excited! I cannot wait. So our next show on the 28th will be on water chemistry. With Professor Brian, the science Kevins. That banner will come back out.
We haven't used the banners in a long time.
No, that one's happening.
So
it's minerals, additions, and water.
pH and even like tasting, like minerality in beer and stuff like that. We've touched on it. Like I swear we touch on it all the time, but we went back and kind of dug through episodes and figured out that we really hadn't had a whole episode on it. And everybody has an episode on it, but whatever, it's still, something that we should talk about.
Yeah.
And I think Klob actually did a presentation not too long ago on it too. I think
is that what the next meeting is going to be?
The Klob one? It might be.
No, the next meeting.
It's pressure fermenting.
Is pressure fermenting. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's the same day as your hot sauce meetup, I think.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we are limited in the days and times that we can do the hot sauce thing because we partner with Distant Whistle on those, and that was the only Monday in the foreseeable future that they had. So if you're in the area and you enjoy hot sauce, the Kalamazoo Hot Sauce Enthusiast will be at Distant Whistle on Monday the 15th at 6:30 p.m. Where we're going to be tasting, sharing, eating various different hot sauces, and there's going to be some hot sauce vendors there this time. So, come out and do that. Or if you're a home brewer and you're in the area, Klob will be meeting at Presidential, and they will be talking about pressure fermentation.
Mm-hmm.
So, also, I'm drinking homebrew for the first time in months, I think, or a while. Anyway, I finally got my New Zealand Pilsner. It's still a little hazy.
Mm-hmm.
I just did some clarification on it to drop out some shit because I was lazy and not paying attention when I was racking from fermenter into my keg, and I pulled some trouble with it. But no, it's good. I think it's got a little diacetyl, so I can't wait for you guys to try it. Unfortunately, I won't be at the next Keepers meeting, but I'm going to try to get some sample to some of you in the near future. Tim, I might just stop by.
Yeah, you can always do that.
Because I'm really curious to see if it's just in my head or if it's something you guys pick up on.
You didn't dry hop, right?
No, I did not. I'm not a cheating bastard.
You should, So
That's actually what I named my my beer in all the competitions I'm sending it to. It's called Yes, I Dry Hop This.
Nice.
for real.
They do it for real, for real.
I love that.
Yeah, you love that for me.
Yeah, not for the other people though. You fucker.
How'd you describe the taste, Jason?
So it's New Zealandy. I mean, it's got that vinous character that I think comes with the Nelson. I also for my flavoring additions, I hopped with Nelson and Nectaron. So I am getting a lot of that kind of stone fruit, almost melon characteristics. I personally am not a super fan. I don't know if it really pairs well with the, kind of green, viney, winey characteristics from Nelson. It's kind of a little weird.
Yeah.
But they're both New Zealand hops. And it was what I had available. So I used it. I think if I were to do this again, I would just do Nelson or maybe use Nelson and Waimea. But I didn't have any of that. So
When we brew mine at Ted's on the 21st, by the way, you guys are invited to come out. We're using I used Nelson, but he wants to use Hallertau Blanc, and they're pretty similar, I think. I think Nelson's a little less dank, or Hallertau Blanc's a little less dank.
yeah,
It's probably a little cheaper too.
probably.
Yeah.
I did throw 5 gallons of grape must in it, so it'll be all right.
Right.
Mhm.
I was thinking about that too. Like, would this be better if I put some of that Riesling must in it? I don't know. I don't know. It is what it is. I'm gonna drink it. It's not terrible. It's not the hops that I was dreaming of. So
That's a style too that it's hard to find commercial versions of it right now. So like you're drinking a bunch of homebrewed ones, we could be all fucking off our rocker.
No, but the homebrew ones that I've been drinking, like Jason Glatz's, I fucking loved, and that was typically when homebrewers that I know, including myself, get the opportunity to have their beer on tap at a brewery. It usually comes out different, and
yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, I typically haven't liked them that much, but I'll tell you, like Jason Glatz's version of his New Zealand that he brewed with Bell's is fucking awesome.
It was really, really tasty. Yeah.
Yeah, I went to a show there, and they had one 6 set aside for this show, and I drank like 6 or 7 of them. And then the same, like yours, Tim. Yours was really the inspiration for this, or for me wanting to do it. Aside from the fact that like, everybody else is doing it, and it was a cool lager boy thing to do. But you're New Zealand, which you won the Keeper's Cup with, right? Yeah.
Yeah, almost as big as Bell's.
Yeah, almost as big as Bell's, if not bigger.
Depending on the bigger now.
Yeah. Bingo. But no, I mean, I love that beer. I love New Zealand hops. I love that style. I'm just so I'm not unhappy. I'm just gonna redo it soon.
Yeah. I got 4 ounces of, man, I cannot remember the hop. It's some really new New Zealand hop from Happy Halloween. And Danny Kukuk brewed a New Zealand with those 4 ounces of hops. And he just won, didn't he just win a best of show or something with it, or like a gold, or he did something really well with it. So his is doing really well. And so I thought about doing that with those 4 ounces. About perfect for a New Zealand, So we'll see.
Right on. The only other thing we have, other new business before we get into blending, not new business, but coming up in May, probably our mid-May show, that's going to be our 4th anniversary. So we have been doing this for 4 fucking years.
Good for you guys.
Seems stupid. Because looking back, I don't really know that we've talked about anything important.
I know. It's fine. It's a chance to talk to you guys weekly. What was that, Tim? I'm sorry.
You've gotten drunk on seltzer with friends.
Yeah.
Many a time.
That's pretty important.
It's not about the shows. It's about the beer we drank along the way.
So looking forward to that. Really not sure what we're going to do for that show. Probably just going to be Brian, Jordan, and I getting wasted on seltzer again because that's our go-to. But yeah, that's it.
So blending. Yeah. And so I didn't want to have this show be just like blending beer. Obviously, blending wines and meads and ciders and stuff like that is all viable too, if not even like more viable. But I figured we should talk about this because for a couple of years now, I've sort of said I think that the future in like making really like interesting beer is going to come from blending, because I think we're approaching like a saturation point in brewing where there's not a whole lot left to do in terms of like creating new styles and stuff like that. um Obviously we're getting new hops and stuff like that all the time, but there's only so many coconut flavored hops or like stone fruit flavored hops and stuff you can put out there to make beer more fun and interesting. It can only be like so many natural colors, things like that. And so um I think that the natural progression of beer is probably going to be blending to create a flavor profile that really may not be completely attainable just by brewing like a single batch. And I don't know. We can touch on that and stuff like that as we talk about blending, but um, I'm interested to see what the next 10 years in beer looks like, and to see if my guess is correct, or maybe I don't know. Yeah. Have you guys heard of blenderies instead of breweries?
No.
Yeah.
So Speciation up in Grand Rapids technically considers himself a blendery, or at least they were before.
They only buy wort.
Yep.
Well, they're
Yeah.
from yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They don't
From
they don't do anything.
God, what's the brewery up there they get their wort from?
Is it Vivant?
No. At least they didn't last time I knew. It was it doesn't matter. The name of it'll come back to me at some point, but yeah, they get their wort tanked over to them, and back when they were making more sour beer, and they just add their bugs and yeast to it and create their beer there, and then blend their barrels back together to create the things that they put into bottles and sell. And there's a few blenders in the US. I feel like they're growing. I was kind of digging around a little bit before the show started just to see what I could find, and I ran into quite a bit of kind of cool information that I think we could talk about. So I guess maybe Tim, like, I know you've been blending stouts and stuff like that lately.
Yeah.
I know you've been blending some ciders. What's been your goal, like, when you've been blending those?
So there's usually two reasons I blend. One reason is to kind of what you're talking about at the beginning about like trying to make something you can't really brew, that like maybe the brewing process knocks out this flavor when you do it this way, but it doesn't do it this way. Like with sours, all my sours are blended because, well, for the main reason is the only sour beer I get is from that cloud barrel, and for me it's just so aggressive and assertive.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried just dry hopping it one time. I tried just adding fruit to it one time, and it was like, I think I still have bottles from my first batch 4 years ago down in the basement. Like I just didn't like it. And so I've started brewing a really plain like wheat beer and just blending that, and not mashing high, mashing normal temps. So there's not a lot of extra stuff for the bacteria to chew on, and just trying to add a little body and a little bit of back off some of the acetic character that barrel has. And then, stabilize. I fucked around a little bit. The last batch, I threw a little bit of lactose in, like a pound on 5 gallons. So when I blended, it was a half pound on 5 gallons, which I threw that into Beersmith. It was only 400s, gravity. So it's not that big of a difference, but just add a little something to the bottom. So that I do on purpose. I've also done it on accident with good results too. So, I had a stout I brewed, and I am not a stout brewer. As anybody can attest, I have never brewed a stout that I thought was worth a shit in my whole life. My understanding of recipe building for dark beers is just not good. And I just need to grab someone's recipe and brew it instead of like, engineering it like we always do because we're too proud.
Yeah.
And I brewed oatmeal stout, and it was not stouty. It had a lot of chocolate. It had good body. It had oatmeal, but there wasn't any roast to it. And then I had a dark mild that was way too roasty. And I put it together, and it won a gold as Irish stout and a silver as an Irish extra stout and another comp. So it's like, nice. I just thought, and that was all based on homebrew club feedback. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody's like, this beer is fermented well, but it's just not a stout. And they're like, this beer is really fermented well, but it is way too fucking roasty. And my brain went, oh, I understand flavors a little bit. It worked out really well,
So in your case, for those stouts, it was more of a fix to a beer that was already that was made that wasn't maybe your favorite or something like that. But you took two beers that were only okay, and you combine them into something that obviously is really good.
No, it ended up being a really good Irish stout, and what I did was they were both on tap, and so I just took a glass and I started with half and half, and that was pretty tasty. And then I tried a third and 2/3, and it wasn't as good as the half and half. And then I tried a third, 2/3 the other way, and it wasn't as good as the half and half. So I literally took a keg and I just pressure transferred half of one or 2.5 gallons into one and 2.5 gallons in. And I was naughty to make sure I was at half. I had to pop the top to look in there because, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yep.
I didn't put it on a scale and you would have put it on a scale and did calculations because you're a nerd, but but it turned out really well. And I ended up drinking, that's all gone. So I had beers that weren't bad, right? There wasn't anything really wrong with them. They weren't dumpers. They just weren't what they were supposed to be. And they were just a little bit, they missed the mark. And I ended up with 5 gallons of something that I drank, and it's all gone. So,
Yeah, no, that's super sweet. I think that there's a lot of beer that we brew as home brewers that miss the mark a little bit, or at least aren't exactly what we're thinking of in our head when we're like designing the beer recipe or the flavor that we have in our mind, the the intent that we had for that beer. Blending, I think, is a really great way to ensure like one, consistency. So I think with blending, you're going to be able to really nail a beer flavor way easier than just like brewing batch after batch after batch. But two, nailing a flavor profile that you really want, and really even tweaking the flavor profile later on if you decide that something needs to be changed, like for say like a Russian Imperial Stout or something like that. Like those can often be either like really, really bitter or like not bitter enough. Sometimes it's really hard to balance that very high gravity against the bitterness that it needs, against the sweetness that it needs. And it's a really expensive beer too,
Shit. You see Casey's freaking 2 bags of grain he bought from Hopcraft for one beer. Like,
it was like 25 pounds worth of grain plus all the hops, and you need a huge healthy pitch of yeast for something like that. But if you miss your mark on something really expensive, and we'll get into mead probably in a minute here too, because talk about an expensive fermentation sometimes, but instead of just sucking it up and drinking down your keg of like, okay, beer, you can make something knowing or based off of your existing recipe, except up the bitterness a little bit or the gravity a little bit, knowing what you want the end result to be, and granted, you're going to end up with twice as much beer, but at least it'll all be like way better.
Yeah.
Well,
I think too, like, it really just depends. I think you have to have a really good handle on flavor and like understanding beer styles. And I think if I wouldn't have worked towards BJCP certification the last couple of years, I probably wouldn't have worked out as well. Do you know what I mean? Because I wouldn't have said, "Oh, this dark mild's too roasty," or I would have been like, "Oh, this is pretty good dark beer," And just my understanding, for me, I'm not saying if you're not BJCP certified, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm just saying personally, I wouldn't have understood those two beer styles as well. You know what I mean? I just was unable to transfer what I know it tastes like to the recipe.
Yeah.
So and that's part of what makes this so hard a little bit, and why maybe it's a little bit more of an advanced topic, is because you don't know what you don't know. Like you don't, if you've never had like a exceptionally like bitter sweet Russian Imperial stout before, you just don't know what that flavor tastes like. Or if you've never had any Irish stout except like Guinness or something like that, you don't really know what an Irish stout can taste like.
If you're brewing, if you're a home brewer that's never really brewed one of those before too, you don't know what ingredients are going to do and how they're going to impart the flavors, so that my first beer I brewed, I targeted a Guinness and came nowhere fucking close to it. But it was kind of like what Tim was saying. I wasn't as educated then as I am now when it comes to brewing dark beers. So
yeah, 100%. And that lends itself to, I guess, to experimenting a little bit more. Like, not only do you have the option to blend beers back together to create something more along the lines of what you envisioned, but you can also take smaller batches off to the side and be like, okay, what would this taste like if I I don't know, if I blend a little bit of stout into my blonde ale, and see how the color came out and stuff like that. And
actually, I got a medal for American lager, not American light lager, because I took what was it? It wasn't for that. Yeah, no, I know it was a fucking pre-prohibition lager. I took a gallon of Connie's dark Mexican lager that was still in the fermenter, in a pressure fermenter. And I mixed it with 2 gallons of the American lager I had, and it was like kind of chewy and corny, and I got I think a bronze with it as a prohibition lager. And I didn't feel bad doing that because I said Connie's beer, but like I brewed it with her. You know what I mean? It's not like I was like, all right, have fun brewing, I'm going to bed. I was there. So I didn't feel bad. But it's just, I think though, honestly, for folks, if they want to try blending, I think they need to invest in some smaller kegs. That really helps. So every time I get a chance, I pick up those little 2.5 gallon kegs, because they're really convenient for that. It's really easy to take and just pressure transfer, a gallon out of one keg and a gallon out of another keg, and taste it and see if it's good, and then you're not like totally ruining all your beer, So
I liked where you were going earlier with the bench trials, sort of, that you were running. Taking a measured amount of one beer and a measured amount of another beer, and sort of creating 50-50 and 30-70 and 80-20 blends and stuff like that, and figuring out exactly what tastes good together. That is something that's done in, like, I mean, every other blending in the in the world, and really that's how you start to teach yourself about flavors and what you enjoy in those flavors, and maybe what's even appropriate. It took me probably like 2 years of making mead before I really understood what balance was in a mead. And I've gone back to some of my first bottles and I spent the night a couple weeks ago just dumping bottles, because I thought these were really good at the time, and they were well fermented. There were no off flavors, no fusel alcohols. they just weren't balanced. And I've learned a lot about flavor balance since then.
So you guys have been talking about blending and blending stouts together and stuff, and that of course made me think of Black and Tans.
Did you just make yourself a Black and Tan? I saw you hold something up to the
Yeah,
camera a second ago.
I did. I now have a New Zealand Guinness Black and Tan.
How is it?
Yeah.
Fucking good.
Yeah.
It's fucking
Hey
good.
man, I love it when breweries have on their board. I mean, that Old Peninsula wasn't like when we talk about great beer in Kalamazoo, that doesn't really come up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Old Peninsula on their board was like, mix these two together, and people try it. And sometimes you're like, God damn, that's good, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I wanted to go with this, not just because I'm fucking around with a Guinness in my New Zealand, but it is good. But the whole point of like blending, I think, going even back farther before, and I wanted to get in this before we jump in meads, because I'm really interested in the mead blending, because I'm going to do that soon. I'm going to need your help. But just the fact that people have been blending beers together for multiple reasons for hundreds of years, whether it's to make it more approachable for non-beer drinkers like shandies, or if you go by Wikipedia, the original reason for Black and Tans was to make money and blend a higher tax strong beer with a lower tax small beer.
Charge a higher tax, right?
Yeah, so they can charge a higher tax rate. But I know today there's hundreds of variations of Black and Tans, and I think we actually did do a Black and Tan show, now that I remember, right? Because I seem to remember like Ron calling out like Snake Bite, which was the Black and Cider or Guinness and Cider.
Oh, those are good.
Yeah,
They are good though. Yeah.
but those are the things, like you're blending those different flavor characteristics and those different kind of essences together, not necessarily to get a stout in New Zealand, but to get something completely and totally different that comes out of it.
Well,
So
I'm sure that first sip you were just like, what? Oh,
it was instantly good. Like I might actually step away in a minute and go get another half glass and try it again. But
Nice.
yeah. So I mean, whether you're blending to make something palatable and approachable, blending to correct a mistake, or blending just to see what the fuck happens. I think it's been going on for a while, and it's fun.
No, that's a really good point.
Well, and I love blended styles. Like I was inspired to brew that Riesling Pilsner because of what Ted does down at Outre, because he has some freaking bangers. I like making Graf. I make one or two every year, and it's super easy. There's no reason not to do it if you like apple beer, Cisers, and there's all these things are delicious, I had a sour cider though. That is not good. So don't
I've
tried to do that too. Not good.
I bought one. It was gross.
Oh,
yeah. I did an experiment with Philly. Apple cider, apple juice, and Philly sour yeast, and it turned into battery acid. Both of ours did. It's disgusting. But
worth a shot.
It was fun to do, but it was just like, it was really neat to see what that particular yeast did to those particular sugars. So
well, and touching on sort of what I said right at the beginning of the show, and this conversation and new styles and stuff like that. One well, you can get their State of Bean and their Sweetwater Street blended together, which is their coffee blonde and their sweet stout, and it tastes like something completely different. It's not really like a coffee stout. It's not really like a coffee blonde with roast and stuff.
Yeah.
It's not something that you could just make.
Final Gravity makes a jalapeno beer called Uranus on Fire. They sell like 90% of the breweries around here. They sell St. Julian cider and Pete's cider, and they had St. Julian cherry cider, and I did half and half with that. And it was fucking fucking awesome. Like that spicy jalapeno flavor and the greeny, grassy jalapeno flavor with the cherry. It was great. You know, sometimes people got it. Founders do like Rubeus and their stout together. Like
that's
it's great. It's great.
Yeah, their Founders Porter and Rubeus together used to be my go-to. I used to buy a 6-pack of each.
It's so hard to get a fruit flavor to come through if you were to brew that, right? So you brew this porter, it's hard to get that fruit flavor balance with that bitterness of the dark malt and stuff. But if you just put them together in a glass, you know,
you can get a lot more robust flavor. Yeah. Brian and I at NHC a couple of years ago, we got to sit through some guys from, I think, Wisconsin did a blending course that Brian and I stole all their material. I mean, we told them we were stealing it. And we've been planning on doing that for a keepers meeting someday. But,
yeah. Well, Brian's got the bazillion sours and kegs, right? We need to blend sometime.
I do.
Yeah, we even briefly talked about doing that tonight. Was, you know, if we wanted to do this in person, we could have sat there in Brian's basement or something and tried all these kegs together. But it was just really cool. Like these guys brought a keg of you know, like lacto heavy beer, a keg of PDO beer, and a keg of
like really acidic, like acetic acid heavy beer. Yeah.
And no, the other one was not PDO, Brett. And then, you know, to give us this base beer and you know, you could sit there with it, you know, and they had like pipettes. And so you could, you know, like 2 drops of the acetic and 1 drop of the lactic, you know, what did that taste like? And then, you know, what does it taste like as you add more acetic or, you know, what happens if you throw that Brett hand grenade in there and it just totally changes the fucking flavor profile and adds, you know, different levels of funkiness versus sour versus tart, you know, or whatever. So if you have the opportunity to do that as a home brewer, if you, like Brian, racked up 10 or 12 kegs of random sours, you could sit there, you could really kind of tailor, you know, quite unique.
We should at least make a super blend to slushy this summer.
I think that'd be cool.
Fuck yeah. I mean,
A super blend of what? Of sour beer?
Sour beers.
So get the perfect blend, and then we can call it super sour or mega sour, right?
To challenge Mega Seltzer.
No, because you remember we were talking about it the other day?
Yeah. Got some homebrew fest shit coming down.
Oh, Jesus. Yes. Okay.
Oh, he caught up.
I'm slow on the uptake here.
Ribbit.
I just had to go ahead.
No.
No, I was just going to say I'm still trying to finish up all the the beers that we bought for last week's international light lager tasting. So I got some El Presidente and Sol and some other stuff to work through still.
So I went.
Some of these you can only buy in 12 packs, right?
Yeah, I went and bought Pacifico, and I really do enjoy Pacifico. And Tim, I apologize. I meant to drop a couple Pacificos in your fridge for.
You're good, man. Dude, you fed my animals for 4 days. I got nothing but love for you, brother.
I know he leaves me a note on his table. There's Modelo in the fridge. Drink beer. I'm like, well, fuck yeah. But no, I need to go to Illinois. I know that. So in the if you listen to last week, I think Jordan and I all of us picked like Pacifico and El Presidente to be in our top level somewhere. Jordan, I wanted El Presidente to be my favorite, and Jordan wanted Pacifico, and we flip-flopped. And I forgot where I was going with this, but anyway, both great fucking beers.
Yeah.
What's that?
At least you can get Pacifico here.
Yeah, I went and bought Pacifico. I've been drinking it this week. I really, really enjoy it. It's a good beer, but seeing you pour that El Presidente makes me a little sad. I wish I had some of that.
I have plenty of bottles. If you, I'll trade you some El Presidente for some peppers, some anchos, and some other stuff.
No, I got to text our boy. I was making a pepper deal last night for you. I'm going to make that happen.
So for the I know we're getting off topic again, but for the hot sauce meeting on the 20th, Jason, speaking of bullying, was bullying, and
It was not bullying. It was encouraging and supporting you because you're my buddy and I love you and that's I wanted you to.
It had these won't you be really embarrassed if you show up without something vibes. He said I really want to make something for the meeting, but I'm too lazy and I probably won't. I'm like, no, let's do this. Let me help you. I said let's talk up an idea right now and I will help you make this happen. You did, and that is what happened. I'm just kidding.
And then we did, and he's like, but I don't have any peppers. So of course I reach out to Jeff, the Pepperman Pergenzer, immediately. And I'm like, I tell him what happens, and he's like, he literally, his response is, yeah, man.
I love Jeff.
We should do a pepper slushy, like a hot slushy.
That could be good.
That could be good. Sweet hot
habanero.
That could be real good.
Mm-hmm. I'm doing a hot honey.
I was gonna say that ties into Brian's got all this honey, and I was like, dude, you got all this honey. I'm like, we should play with the hot honey, and he's got all these varietals. And so I was drunk last night or had a cocktail or two, and I was thinking about coffee a lot, and then Brian was like, I got coffee blossom honey. I'm like, ooh,
that'd be great with peppers because the smokiness. Right? Oh man,
yeah. Throw maybe a couple coffee beans in there. Throw a pepper. Throw some Mexican peppers because I think Mexican when it comes to coffee. So I got some anchos and maybe some Californias or something, and then one hot, not too hot, and then throw in a bag, Ziploc it, or seal it, sous vide it for a day.
Yeah,
I love it. I had a bunch of peppers I was gonna make hot sauce with, and I ended up throwing them out because they were in the freezer too long. I just never, I processed them. I chopped up all these hot peppers, and my hands tingled for 4 days. Even though
you blended them.
No, I prepped them up. I just chopped them all up so I could blend. Oh yeah, fuck you. But I mean, I had some good things going. Like I had like red habaneros with some red bell peppers, and I had some other things. I was trying to add sweet and hot together and stuff. But who knows? I don't know. I threw it away. So who doesn't? Where'd that topic go?
Yeah, fuck that topic. I got to make a sauce this weekend, and I had picked up some chocolate bootleg peppers from Pregenzer last time we were at I actually have no idea when I got them from. Anyway, I wanted to make this chocolate covered cherry chocolate bootleg hot sauce, and I had this idea. I got these cherries, like cocoa powder, brown sugar, mixed them together. I got some ancho chilies in there, and I threw Jeff gave me this little bag of chocolate bootleg, and I just dumped it. And I didn't even weigh it, didn't even look at it. It's like, fucking dump it all. It's really good. It's really dark, rich chocolate, bright tart cherry, and fucking fire.
What would that be good on?
So when I started researching it, they call out everything like pork and other kind of savory meats that would blend well with cherries. It goes good with. But they also said ice cream. Like, when I tell you, Amy doesn't like super hots, but she tasted it like 10 times yesterday. And I took, when I poured, I finished it. I got it done. It's all ready for the hot sauce meet next week. I have 1 quart jar, and I had like 3/4 of a cup left over. And I decided to make beef jerky, and I took about half, maybe 3/4 of a pound of beef, and I marinated it in this hot cherry chocolate hot sauce last night. And those are in the dehydrator right now. And when I put them in the dehydrator, I actually took and dusted them with more cocoa powder.
Oh man!
And so that's going to be at the meetup on the 15th.
All right. So I was deciding whether I was going to come.
So I'm also going to bring my New Zealand Pilsner then too.
Oh, good.
Oh, sweet,
Yeah.
yeah. Can we bring Homer too?
What's that?
We can bring Homer too.
You can.
It's a keepers meeting with a focus on hot sauces.
It's a focus on hot sauce. I just want to make sure people buy beer from Dane.
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna bring it.
You know that. I know. Yeah, but yeah, you can bring some.
But
yeah,
you can drink it for 3 hours.
So you should totally come. We're gonna have chocolate cherry hot sauce, and Brian's gonna have some amazing coffee blossom hot honey. He looks so fucking sad back there. Just like
that's just her face, man. That's how she looks. I don't know what her problem is. She's been like antsy. I don't know. I couldn't even find that boy dog. I don't know where he is.
Sitting all by herself by the door.
Come here, Pearl. Come here.
I was kind of watching her in your background, kind of waiting to see if she was just gonna like puke or something. Just like that. That would totally be
To get her on video.
For to take a pee pee because they're still not potty trained 100% yet. So
yeah. But anyway, blending meads. Is that what we're going to talk about?
Yeah. So I think that things like meads and ciders and wine can often, without really, this is all talking out of my ass, but can really benefit from blending just as much, if not more, than beer, simply because of how simple they usually are, right? So you take one ingredient, say like a particular varietal of honey or grape, and you ferment it and you get a flavor, right? But what happens when you ferment it again, but with a completely different yeast, right? Because we know how much yeast affects the flavor of our fermentations. It basically creates the beer, right? Like we can all create wort and it tastes like wort, but it's really once the fermentation is done that we know, like, you know, just how good a beer it is. And yeast creates a lot of these like subtle flavors that we can't really pick up on. Like it's not something that's gonna be on a score sheet, you know, when we're judging a beer or something like that, but they're there. And it's what, in my opinion, what we, when we call a beer like really good and really tasty and stuff like that, it's these like subtle nuances that really make it what it is. Because nobody really wants like besides like the you know, the coffee blondes and stuff like that, nobody wants a beer that like punches you in the face with like a flavor, right?
Oh, look at
that. But oh god.
Did she just pee?
Yeah.
Well, it's almost puking, so we got it. I shouldn't have spoken out loud.
No, I agree with that, man.
But subtle flavors, right? And
yeah.
I was listening to
an English blend, and it's really interesting, but like I don't want to drink it by itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I back sweeten it, and it was a little more drinkable for me. But it's just there's just a lot of tannins, and it's acidic, and it's good. Like it's like wow, this is like really appley and good, but it's just a lot. And I blended that 50-50 with the regular blend, and it's like with a little bit of back sweet, it's like one of the best ciders ever made. I love it because it's a little bit of both. Because I think the regular blend is plain.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Totally.
I think like, you know, especially in ciders and probably in meads too. I don't know as much about like Bill Boyer and his process, but I know, you know, in talking to like Jeff Carlson with the ciders, you know, the majority of his success comes from, you know, his back sweetening and his blending and his, you know, adjusting and, you know, adjusting the acids and adjusting the tannins, you know, in beers and sour beers, you play with the different bacteria strains, and in meads and ciders, you tend to play more with that, you know, the bases and the tannins, not bases, the acids, the opposite of base, the acids and the tannins to get those flavor complexities and those nuances, like Brian said. And I don't really know how it relates in beer mean, you are playing. I guess I could see it where with different yeast characteristics, different malt characteristics, but whatever.
In beer, unless you're doing something like a saison yeast versus like a lager yeast versus like a hefeweizen yeast and stuff like that. I think a lot of that nuance can be lost behind the malt and the hops and the sweetness and things like that. And a lot of it's just kind of laid more bare with ciders and meads and stuff like that. And I was talking, well, I wasn't talking with, I was listening to a presentation that Ken Schramm did for he has like a Mazer Club for his meadery. I think it was like 2 years ago. There was a like an invite only, like, I don't know, not even presentation, but just like a fireside chat sort of thing. And I don't remember who asked what question, but he mentioned in an answer that often, I don't even know often, he said that there are meads that he blends with different yeasts. So he'll use like USO5 to get more like fruity esters and stuff like that. And he'll use like a wine yeast to get, other flavors, maybe something like a 71B that might have like a small like malolactic fermentation and stuff like that, and blend those together to get a flavor that no yeast that we have currently will be able to produce all on its own.
I get that. I mean, there are different characteristics, especially if you go more on the beer side, right? You've got saison yeasts are going to give you these different spicy characteristics, and the other Belgian yeasts are going to give you different, fruity characteristics, and so I can see where blending different beer styles would be very interesting. And I do, going back to the very beginning of the show where you talked about these blenderies, I could see where that could be the future of beer, blending these different complex flavors together to get something new that we can't just get on our own. And I feel that's commercially doable though, but
yeah, I don't even know if it's super easily doable as like a home brewer, like not many homebrewers brew 10 gallons at a time. I know we have a few in our club that do, but brewing 2.5 gallon batches, with things like temp control and stuff like that can be a challenge, because then you're talking about like 2 smaller fermenters, and sometimes people just ferment in like small fridges or things like that. I don't know of any like glycol fermenters that are like 3 gallons. So sometimes there can be challenges like brewing with like temp control and stuff like that on like small scales.
Is there murder happening?
Huh?
Sounded like somebody was screaming.
Yeah, it's my son.
Yeah. The responsible one, right?
He's fine.
In bed. It sounds like he's possessed. Maybe it's the eclipse. I'm not sure.
I was really disappointed that more apocalyptic things didn't happen today.
Sorry, buddy.
Yeah.
Next time.
I wonder too, like, Bill Boyer, who is a master cider mead dude. I wonder if like him thinking, oh, these two yeasts go together well. Was it him really, really understanding the process, or him one time putting those together and it turned out super good and then keep going? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's where everything that's worked for me blending wise has come from, fuck it, let's try it. Not, please, this has this level of, this has an apple ester, and this one has a pear ester. We're going to put these, I'm not that advanced,
No, I'm not either.
And I think there can be a balance between those two, right?
Yeah. I mean, it depends on how your bind works. Like I'm more of the camp of Tim, like, fuck it. Let's see. let's take a whole shopping cart full of watermelons and see if they make beer. They don't. I even did like the first time I did I'm wearing my Golden Girls shirt. So like first time I did I did a beer. I wanted to do a tribute to Betty White, and I wanted to do this orange rose hip peppercorn, because Golden Girls with Miami and the orange theme, and the rose hips for the rose thing from Golden Girls, and pepper because she's a little spicy and all that shit. And it turned out to be this horrific, disgusting fucking beer because they used way too much orange. I didn't know what rose hips did. Basically, in large quantities, it's acid. There's a lot of vitamin C in rose hips, and it was disgusting. Because I'm more of the fuck it and find out. Fuck around and find out.
Yeah, that's why my generator beer was so bad.
What was that?
There weren't many that were great.
Yarrow, right?
That was the worst one though. I even put on the thing like it's not good. Like drink this last.
I didn't hate that
People
one.
were real nice though. They were like, "Oh, there's some things going on here," and I'm like, "It's okay."
There's people that like that black licorice, dry, bitter shit.
Hey, Connie's home.
It tasted like root beer to me.
That means my wife must be home too.
Pretty close.
I can't hear.
I know Danny Kukuk, the I don't know, there's some like braggot traditionalists and stuff like that out there, but I know that Kukuk has won a couple competitions with not won competitions, but has medaled in competitions with a braggot by blending mead and like a beer right off the tap and stuff, and just sticking a cap on it and sending it out to a competition.
What the fuck, Danny?
I have I can't remember what competition it was last year, but I took some of my sour beer and blended it with some of my sweet mead, like in a bottle, and just sent it out. And I'm pretty sure that took a gold somewhere.
That's awesome.
I just as like an experimental like mead or something like that, So yeah, like
I actually have a really shitty blueberry mead that I made a couple years ago, or 5-6 years ago at this point. And I used to keep when we lived in the Madon house, I used to keep a bottle of it on the bar for when I had my Berliner Weiss. I had Looper on tap, and you could have a shot of the blueberry mead and a pint of Looper, and it was good. And it was like, if you didn't want a boring ass Berliner Weiss, and so now it makes me want to do that and enter in the competition.
Kukuk's list. I'm sorry to out all your secrets, buddy.
He doesn't care.
So yeah. So are you saying put it in a pop bottle, carbonate it back up, and then gently pour it into like beer bottles or something, or how's that working? We'll get all the secrets. You don't have to.
He did in our other group chat. He did, like we said it. We're going to do a blending show, and he mentioned something about pop bottles.
That's why he said that. Okay,
yeah.
I saw that, and then I forgot that he said that.
I also read that comment and was just like, I don't know what he's saying. I didn't ask for clarification.
I didn't ask for clarification. I don't. Yeah.
It's all. It's all coming together. Yeah. So I mean, I don't really even feel like we scratched the surface in what we've talked about. We've just kind of like brushed over all of the different, things that you can do with blending and kind of put ideas out there. I don't think any of us, I really don't know of a single person I can think of that's like a master blender or anything like that.
No, it's good to know, like, if you got something that's not great, try it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's not something that occurs to me ever. Like, even with my beer at home, I don't think I've ever just thought to blend a couple of my beers on tap into the same glass. I just don't think about it.
Yeah, I mean, the takeaway is just to try it, right? Like, I mean, people have been blending beers for years and hundreds of years, probably, between shandies and black and tans and whatever. If you're making meads and ciders, really the only way that you're going to get good at that is if you learn how to adjust your tannins and your acids and things like that. If you're playing with sours, having the ability to blend the different sour types and sour varieties and even fruit and non-sour beers like Tim does. And I still think back to Tim, you did a Flanders red with one of those barrels, one of the cloud barrel mixes that you mixed.
I brewed a 3-gallon batch of beer. It was a Flanders red, but with all the dark malt, but not the less base malt. So it was like, by itself, it would have been gross, right? But it had like the little bit of special B and all that. And I just added 2 gallons of the barrel sour into it and just let it sit for like a year. And it turned out really well. And it was interesting trying it every couple months. And it was amazing how the flavors began to like fit together. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
I tasted it right after, and it was like, this tastes like someone dumped 2 beers together in a carboy, and then over time it got better,
Yeah, no, I mean, I remember it being really, really good. And I actually think that won the first Keeper's Cup you entered, didn't it?
Yeah, Keeper's Cup 2 though.
Keeper's Cup 2. So I mean, just because you think you make a mistake doesn't mean you're fucked. You can use that beer to potentially blend and do something new and unique with it. I would like to do a show, Brian, where we get a bunch of your sours, and if you want to do it in person, I'm totally good with that. But I would love to do a show where we kind of recreate what we did at NHC with 3 or 4 different sours and sit there and blend them together and talk through the processing. That would be great.
Well, you did that mead. That was cool. Where Brian brought the kind of traditional mead, and he brought like 3 kinds of tannins and 3 kinds of acids, and we just got to, with the pipettes, just play with that, and it was really interesting. It was like, holy crap! Like you put a couple things in, and you're like, wow, this is way more interesting. And you put this way, and you go, okay, I don't want to drink this anymore.
Yeah.
It was really interesting, and I think that's something where, I mean, with a working man's palate like I have, you just mess around until you find something you like, and then you just do it that way. You're not like always changing things up. But I thought that was really cool.
And we could do like a whole bench trials show and stuff like that too. It probably wouldn't be as useful as just going and Googling I think Doing the Most has a really good video on bench trials. But yeah, it'd be interesting. Yeah, it could be super fun. Our Instagram stream just shut down. I just started it back up again. For whatever reason, Instagram's not fully integrated into StreamYard, and so they kick us off after an hour, when we have to start it back up again. So it's stupid.
I forget what I was going to say. Let's do that bench trial show.
We'll talk. I want to say this audibly, so it makes it onto the show. But Danny Kukuk says, blend it into a pop bottle. Use one of those caps that turn a 2-liter into a mini keg. So like carbonation caps. You can find them on like Amazon. And then he says, adjust and then fill as you would from a keg. So just pressurize it up to like keg pressure, and that's
actually a cool idea, just because, I mean, we got a couple guys in our club that use those all the time. I just never thought about it, but like I just did I just made an Eisbach, and I made 1.5 gallons of it because I have a 2-gallon keg. But if I had a 2-liter, I could have done it, a smaller amount of Doppelbock, froze it. You can actually see how frozen it is because it's plastic. You can see it, So it's actually a pretty cool idea.
So Cass River's hanging out. I don't know if it's Lori or Jeff, or not Lori or Jeff, Lori or Larry.
They just celebrated their 35th anniversary this last week.
Oh, congratulations.
Club in Michigan. So yeah, congrats to that. But I would say, someday Brian and I will come up with it's Lori. Hey, Lori. someday Brian and I are going to come up with this tasting presentation for our homebrew club, and it would be really cool maybe to come over, Lori, and present to you guys sometime, hang out, and crash a club meeting or something.
Yeah, we totally need to do that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if we have anything specifically left to say on blending, from a surface level perspective, except for think outside the box and try it. Not just beer to beer, but beer to cider, beer to mead.
I'm starting to figure out what a Pacifico and a Guinness tastes like.
We're gonna figure it out, and I think that's maybe gonna open up the book to some new beer styles in the future or something. And I think that breweries that can figure that out and do it successfully and consistently are going to, I don't know, they're going to have an advantage in the future, maybe. So we'll see. That's my prediction for like 10 years out.
Yeah. I mean, stumble onto awesomeness, right?
That's right.
Okay. Italian Pilsners. Hey, let's dry hop this German Pilsner. Hey, it's good.
Yeah.
New Zealand Pilsner. Hey, let's use New Zealand hops instead of German Pilsner hops. That's good.
Italian grape ale.
Cold IPA.
Not Italian grape ale. Tim doesn't like that.
What's that?
Grape ale.
I don't know if I like it or not. I just the descriptor on the BJCP makes it sound real boring. Like the malt's like no malt character, hops, no hop character, yeast, no yeast character. Should taste like a plain ass beer with grapes.
Like Italian or Australian sparkling ale with like grapes or something like that. Like I don't even know.
Australian sparkling ale should just taste like seltzer water.
Yeah. That's how I've always read it. I would love to be proved wrong. I've never had one. So
they don't they have to use like a certain hop, like Pride of Ringwood or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, like some hop that you can't find anywhere.
Yeah. Oh geez.
Yeah.
That was dramatic.
Yeah, it's the old lady cat. She's pretty tolerant of the pups, but she can only take so much.
It's fair. Well, anything else we need to recap on before we say our goodbyes? We talked about the hot sauce meeting. We talked about the beer cup registration opening up probably before our next show. Being experimental with blending.
You can always throw out. I know Siciliano's is looking for more judges. So if anybody wants to your Stuart Siciliano's, type in Siciliano's homebrew competition, and look at that.
This is the amazing setup that Danny uses to blend beers and win medals.
God, he is a duo-tight whore, isn't he? He loves it.
I just got a box of duo-tight. I haven't redone my kegerator with it yet.
The stuff seems awesome.
Yeah. So
that is quite the setup. For
yeah.
We'll
sign up to help Sicilianos.
Yeah, they need help.
It's also going to be on 420. So the day that Beer Cup registration opens, we will be in the morning that Beer Cup registration opens. We will be judging beers in Grand Rapids for Sicilianos.
What if it fills up before I get a chance to register that day?
You know somebody that can help you with that. Don't worry about it.
505 entries now.
It is what it is, man.
It'll happen.
We filled up about halfway on the first day last year, I think.
Yeah, then it kind of like slowed down after that. But.
Yeah, I think it was like 265 day one, and then it took like to get the other 200 took right up until the last minute. So
I think I'm doing a rock beer just for Jason. So we're gonna double team him, Brian, with smoked lagers. And when he's,
as far as I know, I'm the coordinator again this year, so I can't judge or taste. So
no, but what we're gonna do though is you're gonna hold our hands high when we medal with them. Beer cup.
Yeah,
it's gonna happen.
Actually, last year nobody won in smoked beer, did they? We had I think we had 2 categories last year that didn't get any medals. I'm pretty sure smoke beer was one of them.
Yeah,
And
maybe.
it's not that nobody won. I just don't think anybody entered. So
Yeah.
There you go, Brian. 1-2, baby. Let's go.
Yeah. I'm saving a couple sour beer just so we can sweep
Good.
that category
Yeah,
together.
we gotta sweep that because we didn't last year. We only got 2 out of 3, and that's our category. We wild.
but anyway, come help out Siciliano's on 420 and then Michigan Beer Cup will be on July 20th.
Put it in your calendar.
Yeah,
It's gonna be a rager.
it is gonna be a rager.
I've already planned on hosting some East Side cucks to hang out. So
Dude, they can't even drive across town to go to Winter Beer
Oh,
Fest.
you're right. Maybe they won't show up. So far, Kukuk show though. Good on you, Kukuk.
Appreciate you, man.
He put his beer on our bar. I loved it.
It was good.
It was good.
Oh, so does that count? We've already done it. The bet's already been fulfilled.
Was that the day?
Oh, you're
This
right.
beer has been on
Yeah.
tap at a keeper's bar.
That was the day we found out he hit Grandmaster 3 before you.
Close
4 or
enough.
7 or 12, whatever it is.
I think it's close enough.
I think we got it.
Right on. So yeah, we'll be back in a couple of weeks with water, chemistry, minerality, whatever. Brian's gonna go all sciencey. I'm gonna make fun of him.
I just recently started using water calculators, and I think it's making a difference.
Yeah. I just used to live someplace that had amazing water, and now I don't. So
That sucks, bro.
it is.
Yeah, I also am on Kalamazoo City Water, so
Yeah, I don't use that shit. I went to Costco. The last 2 beers I brewed, I went to Costco and just bought bottled water.
I just go to Meyer and get RO water.
I am going to have an RO system put in a few weeks.
There you go.
So
Nice.
yeah,
Good
more
stuff.
for my aquarium, but I'll use it for beer too.
Yeah, no shit.
Actually, let's be real. I'm getting it for my ice maker. Anybody that doesn't have an Opal ice maker, you're missing out. Anyway, that's another show. Right on.
All right, guys. Well,
Cheers.
we'll see everybody back in a couple of weeks. We'll have the show up and going. And
Come eat hot sauce on Monday.
yes, have a good evening.
Don't dump it, blend it.
That's our new slogan.
Unless
I'm
it's
just gonna-
got no,
I'm gonna the podcast. I'm just gonna cut it off right there.
Don't dump it. Blend it.
Yeah, I guess.
But if it tastes like shit, it's probably still going to taste like shit.
poop blend.
Kidding. Bye.